Warm welcome. I've learnt things today. I didn't know anything about find and replace in Pages, which is one of those kind of things that just escaped me somehow in the way that these things do. So thank you for that. Welcome to this, our meeting on Wednesday, December the 6th. I'm your host today, Mike Wozniak. You probably all know me by now, but I'm a theatre photographer based in Suffolk in the UK. And Sheeta, who we've just been hearing from, will be moderating today. Sheeta, was there anything that you wanted to add at this point?
No, let's go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Eckhart, our president, is with us. Eckhart, is there anything that you would like to say before
No,
we...
no, next week, but not this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So a few notices before we hand the meeting over to Mike. First of all, I'm sure you all have, but please, 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 if you haven't, please go and visit our fabulous new website at www.naplesmug.com. Absolutely everything you will ever need, anything to do with NMUG is now available from the website. That, of course, includes next year's classes, which Sheeta was just mentioning. You're very welcome to bob onto the site and start booking classes now. They start on January the 6th and run, I think, for 10 weeks, something like that. But all of the information is on the website. Also, of course, our new message board, which seems to be rattling along very nicely, is also available on the website. One brief announcement. My baptism of fire this year as a speaker. I'll be joining NMUG next week, not just as a host, but also as the speaker. And I'm going to be talking about colour. And as I said earlier, I'm a professional photographer. I do all of my own printing. Just to my left, there's a great big printer about the size of most people's barbecues that is rattling away most days. But the information that I want to share with you will improve colours for absolutely everybody, even if you've got the humblest tiny colour printer. I hope that this information will be useful for you. So that's next Wednesday, and I look forward very much to seeing you then. And that just leaves me to say hello to Mike. Mike, you're most welcome to, we're delighted to see you back with us. And if I may, I'll stop my share and allow you to take over. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone, or good evening. And it looks like it's snowing in Dan's apartment. I don't know. So that's good. That's snowing there and not here. We just have fog here. So let me share my screen here real quick. And we'll get going. So this class is called Keeping Track of People. And I don't mean this in a weird, stalky kind of way. This is more about how to keep track of information about people that are important to you and that you may want to communicate with. So again, my name is Mike. You can find me here. And thanks again for having me. At their core, most computing devices that we use, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone or a Mac, they're really communications devices. They are ways to communicate things we write, things we watch, but also communicating with other people. Think about the apps you use all the time, whether it's FaceTime or mail or messages, Find My even. You're communicating with people. And these people need to be handy for you. And they will be most handy if you put them in the Contacts app. So we're going to focus today mostly on the Mac. I think the Contacts app on the Mac looks like this icon on the left. On the iPhone or the iPad, it looks like this on the right. You can also access contacts on the iPhone through the phone app itself. But the Contacts app, I like to tell people, is probably the most boring app on your device. It just kind of sits there collecting information for you, but it's maybe one of the most important because your device is a communications device for communicating with people. So the Contacts app kind of runs through a lot of apps on your devices, as I mentioned earlier, FaceTime, phone, messages, mail. You couldn't do anything without being able to contact people. And the Contacts app helps make that very, very easy. So this is a screenshot of somebody who's in my contacts app, this Coyote guy. I just want to touch on a few things about what I suggest people do with the contacts app. And the very first thing I suggest is put everybody in there that you know. Even if you think you may never talk to them again, you might be surprised. There will come a time when you'll be using your device and you'll want to email somebody and you won't have their email address handy. You have to go look it up somewhere and you'll get frustrated. And if it's your phone, you don't want to throw that across the room. It's pretty pricey to do that. So I generally advise everybody to put everybody in the contacts app that they know. Ideally, using what's called one contact card per person. This area on the right here in this 3-column format, this information about Wile E. Coyote right here. This is what is commonly called a contact card. Think of it like a Rolodex card for those of you who are old enough to remember Rolodexes. Typically, everybody should be on their own contact card. And typically, hopefully, only one contact card, although there are times when having multiple contact cards for people, including yourself, might be worthwhile. So, for example, you wouldn't want to have a Wile E. Coyote card that only had his mobile phone number on it, and then another Wile E. Coyote card that only had his work number on it, and then another Wile E. Coyote card that only had his email address on it. You kind of want to put all of that information in one place and try to be as complete and as accurate as you possibly can. So that means include things like area codes and phone numbers. Include things like putting the first name where the first name goes and the last name where the last name goes. Because if you don't, then your contacts won't sort properly. And you'll be looking through your list for Wile E. Coyote under the C's, and maybe you don't have him listed under the C's, he's under the W's somehow because the data hasn't been entered correctly. Make sure that you fill out the contact card as completely as you can. So even if you only know one person named Sarah, it's still a good idea to put Sarah's last name in the contacts app. Also use labels as accurately and as completely as you can. You'll notice in this example, I have 2 different phone numbers for Wile E. Coyote. One of them is a mobile number and one of them is a work number. You can put in multiple entries for a lot of these categories, including things like email addresses, physical addresses. If you label those appropriately, home, work, vacation cabin, fortress of solitude, whatever label you want to throw on there, that makes working with Siri in particular easier along with the contacts app. I like to put photos in contacts that I keep. So if I don't have a photo of somebody that's in the Photos app and they're not standing right in front of me and I can't take their picture with my camera, you can go online and look for photos. Sometimes people post their mugshot on Facebook or LinkedIn, or in Wile E. Coyote's case, just do a search for Wile E. Coyote. You'll get all the images of him that you can possibly stand. So look around online to try and find a photo if you can. I find it just enhances the contacts app a little bit. I mean, I can tell at a glance that this is Wile E. Coyote's contact info just by glancing at the photo without having to read the names. These photos will show up in other apps on your devices. So, for example, in Apple's Mail app or in the Messages app, if you have photos associated with names, they will appear instead of things like monograms or initials. I don't know about you, but I come from a family of 7, and 3 of us have the same initials, MM. And so when we get into a group chat and there are all these MMs flying around, I have to take a second look to see who's saying what, unless I have photos attached to those names. So it just enhances and makes using the app just a little bit nicer to include using photos. Also, in the Contacts app, you should create a card for yourself and put all of your information on there. Put your home address on there, even though you probably know where you live most days. It makes using Siri just a little bit easier. So, for example, I can, from anywhere, pick up my phone and just ask Siri, take me home. And because the phone knows where it is,